After a decade and a half in Atlanta, it was time for Matty Ice to give somewhere else a try. And it just so happened that that place was Indianapolis.
Four-man Washington rush for Patterson in the end zone. He's got it again!
Like I spoke about earlier, Matt Ryan played for the Falcons for nearly a decade and a half, and throughout that time made 4 Pro Bowls, a first-team All-Pro, and got a good old MVP. His reputation speaks for itself, and so although he is nearly 37 years old, he could still play some pretty dang good football. Keep in mind that he won an MVP only like 6 years ago, and although another one is a long shot, I think it proves that he has the talent to ball out in such a good situation like the one in Indy. From top to bottom, the team is pretty dang stacked, with a great defense, great O-line, solid receiving core with potential to get better, and what seems to already be a superstar young running back in Jonathan Taylor. So even though I'm sure Matty loved to play in Atlanta, going to Indy was potentially the best thing for him to do in order to revitalize a once great career. All Indianapolis had to give up for good old Matty Ice was a 3rd round pick, and I have a feeling that he'll be worth much more than that. Going into last season with Wentz under center, there were similar hopes, and it just didn't pan out. But I have a feeling Matt can bring something different to the table. If you go 2 years back to 2020, Philip Rivers was able to ball out in his one season with the Colts, and I think Matt has a similar level of talent, experience, and drive to have success like he has before. Ever since Andrew Luck's surprise retirement back in 2019, Indy has been looking for a replacement, but instead they have had either 1-year deals or just complete whiffs. So it only makes sense that many would doubt what Matt could bring to the table. But in my opinion, I think he has what it takes to do as well, if not better than Philip Rivers, and in turn make the Colts a playoff team in a very tricky AFC. You could look at Matty's lack of playoff success and declining production as a sign of the times, but although age plays a factor, I think it's more so the situation he's in. He recently lost his number 1 in Julio, Calvin Ridley was pretty much out all of last year, and upon that, their defense has been very underwhelming ever since they blew that 28-3 lead back in 2016. Think of Matt's situation like a worse version of Drew before the defense established a name for themselves. And then you could start to understand just how difficult it is to have success without a great team on both sides of the ball. With that in mind, it would only make sense that the Falcons were looking to rebuild. And so after they missed on Watson, it ultimately led Matt to look elsewhere. As he would say, I knew at some point that I was going to have to make a decision on whether or not to stay, and as I looked into it, there was only one spot I wanted to go. Well, it just so turns out that the one spot in Indianapolis wanted the same thing, and so here we are. Although ultimately the right decision, it didn't make leaving his home for nearly a decade and a half any easier, as he called the move bittersweet. He often talked about wanting to retire as a Falcon, and even though it likely won't be the case, he might as well already have retired considering all that he's done for the organization since he was drafted back in 2008. It may be the end of one chapter, but also a brand new start to a new one in Indianapolis, and so I'm sure him, along with all the people in Indy, are excited to see what's next. Colts GM Chris Ballard talked about just how similar it was talking to Matt as it was Philip, as they both have the desire to win, a unique intelligence, and ability to help steady a franchise that has been a bit up and down as of late. If he could play as well as Philip did, and studs like Jonathan Taylor, Pittman, and Nelson are all able to do their thing, then Indianapolis could make some serious waves. As he would say, I'd like to play as long as I can, and he's talked a lot about feeling really good, which as a near 37-year-old is pretty dang important. Anyways, the fact that he can still toss the rock around as good as ever, and hasn't really lost a step, could help him actually contribute instead of just getting by. He may have played for nearly a decade and a half, but he still has a little tread left on the tires. And if Tom Brady can play well going on 60, then I'm sure Matt could do his thing for at least the next few years. But anyways, with all that in mind, do you guys think that Matt Ryan could lead the Colts to any success? Or is he just simply living in the past? Matt Ryan may be past his prime, but he sure as heck is not slowing down anytime soon. So it sure as heck should be exciting to see what he can do in Indy.
Ryan protected well, going deep. Russell Gage, and that's a Falcons touchdown!
Thanks for watching the video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment down below what stuff you want next. But anyway, see you all soon, and peace out.